Hello and welcome to the RYLACast, the official podcast of Camp Ryla, Rotary District 5810. My name is Greg Tupper. I'm the co-host of this podcast. Here, alongside me, virtually I should say, we're not sitting in the same room, is my co-host for the evening, the man they call Josey, Andrew Rutz.
Well, hello, Greg.
Thanks for joining me. I was going to record this podcast solo, but I'm glad I don't have to do that.
Something we don't talk about a lot or ever is you've done quite a few shows solo. So I figured the very least I could do as a co-host is to show up.
We're still waiting on the Josey solo show.
I know the people spoke and
they want it.
It was eye-opening that how much they did not want it.
I don't know. I think that's what people are craving, and that's what we gotta do. We gotta give the people what they crave. This is the RYLACast, the official podcast of Camp Ryla, Rotary District 5810. We do thank you for spending a little bit of your day with us. We are guestless tonight. We had a bead on a guest, and then we couldn't come to the right compensation package for that guest. And so we're going to continue to effort. We're going to continue to keep lines of communication open in hopes of getting this person on a future podcast. But in any case, we will persevere. So you and I, to pull back the curtain entirely, Josey, we just got off of a call to discuss like Ryla stuff, like camp stuff, because we're like less than 6 weeks away, dude.
Yeah, rapidly approaching. I feel like it's like Armageddon and we're getting ready to board the rocket to go split this thing. Like that's how close it is.
So let me ask you, I guess that maybe answers my question. Is 6 weeks a short time or a long time?
It feels like 6 weeks is a short time because I thought yesterday we had 8 weeks. Like not like yesterday. I remember having the conversation like that we had 2 weeks ago. That was like we're 8 weeks from camp, and I blinked and it's been 2 weeks.
That is yeah. So we're turning and burning. It's like you got to do like a phone call, like hop on meetings and stuff and discuss things. Like we're laying out the map. Shout out Stephanie Helmberger.
Ooh, nice.
We're laying out the map. We're working on the binder, all those fun things, and to get camp ready. But one person who was on this call tonight, Josey, was perhaps him as the world's greatest camp director. And it's,
yes,
it's Dana Mackison, Dr. Dana Mackison. He was on the call. Josey, there's a tradition there at camp wherein we sing one of our favorite camp songs, Way Down Yonder in the Paw Paw Patch.
Yes, yeah. Right.
One picks up Paw Paws, and then they deposit the aforementioned Paw Paws into a basket.
Into the basket.
Way down yonder in, again, the aforementioned Paw Paw Patch. Josey, it came as a shock to, I think, everyone on the phone, or on the call, rather, just how much about Paw Paws Dana knew. And also that Paw Paws are a real thing.
Like a real thing and very much actively a real thing. Not like a real thing of yesteryear that are just like nice to think about now. Like, no, it's I don't know, the name escapes me, the cool little quip. But very real, very active.
It is not a myth. It's a thing. It is apparently it's known as like the banana of the Midwest. You can look this up because it's called the official term, I suppose. The species term is Azamina triloba, or the American pawpaw. And it is Dana kind of explained it in a very good way. He said it's kind of like a cross between like a banana and a pear. They are sweet with a custard-like texture and somewhat similar to banana, mango, and pineapple. I don't know about you, but I thought that was an entirely made up just thing for the sake of a camp song that, that thing happened. That's the kind of thing that happens at camp.
I thought it was made up, and then I heard references to a Paw Paw in like a mainstream song, and I was like, let me see if I can through the magic of sound figure out what song that was. But I was like, oh, okay, so Paw Paws are a real thing, and I must have Googled it to just confirm that Paw Paws are a real thing, but I definitely did not click on the picture of the Paw Paw. So I learned with everyone else tonight.
So, let's see. Let me just read this. So it's there's many local. This is gonna be the whole podcast. I'm just gonna read off of the Wikipedia page for the Paw Paw. Okay. Has numerous local common names, many of which compare to a banana rather than a papaya. Okay. Josey, would you like to hear a list of common names for the Paw Paw?
Yes, I
Local
very
name.
much would.
Here we go. Wild banana, prairie banana, Indiana banana, Hoosier banana, West Virginia banana, Kansas banana, Kentucky banana, Michigan banana, Missouri banana, Appalachian banana, Ozark banana, Indian banana, Bonongo, the poor man's banana, American custard apple, Quaker Delight, or my favorite, and what I will henceforth be referring to the Paw Paw as, the hillbilly mango.
Oh, man.
Oh, God. Oh, what a time to be alive.
What a time to be alive.
Due to increased interest in foraging and Lovacor food movement during the late 2010s and the COVID-19 pandemic, the Paw Paw has been referred to tongue-in-cheek as the hipster banana. Oh, God.
Oh, man.
What?
That's good.
Oh, wow. We gotta get some Paw Paws. That's what we gotta do.
That's my goal for the next 6 weeks.
We're gonna bring Paw Paws to camp, like somehow. But I think from again, Dana had a deep, rich understanding of these beautiful fruits. And I don't know. He explained that like the whole song is about how you very quickly have to pick them up off the ground or else they'll go bad. So I don't know how well they ship. That's the problem. Anyway, there's Paw Paw talk. We do have some actual leadership conversation to have with you here on this here, the podcast that is ostensibly about leadership, but mostly about the hillbilly mango. So I've got the big segment this week, Josey. And so as you may know, I work in the field of journalism. I am a capital J journalist.
That's what I've heard. Very good one, I may add. Award-winning, some may say.
Let's not go crazy. And all of that is to say that one of the things that I have in my history is when I was in high school. And I don't know if you know this. Like we're good friends and we've shared a lot with each other, but I don't know if you know this. I was a UIL headline writing regional champion.
Oh no! Okay,
in my
congratulations.
Senior year, I won Region 1, the Region 1 competition out in Lubbock for headline writing, and I got to go to state in headline writing. So I appreciate the art of the headline. And so when you see a headline like this, I understand the care that went into it. Would you like to hear a headline from military.com?
Yes.
Quote, "He was the worst leader I've ever had," end quote, semicolon. Suspended brigade commander accused of toxic leadership.
Okay.
That's an eye catcher.
Yes. Yes.
That will get your attention. And so I started reading this story as about an Army colonel named Jonathan Chung, who was the commander of the Army's 5th Security Force Assistance Brigade. He's been suspended and he's fighting allegations allegations of counterproductive and abusive treatment of his subordinates. All the time he has pushed back against this, saying that he's innocent and certainly he deserves his day in court with all of that. But military.com spoke with 10 soldiers who worked directly with Chung, and they painted a picture of abrasive leadership style that squashed unit cohesion and demoralized subordinate officers. Now, no soldiers accused him of anything like, untoward or for example, there's no criminal issues or sexual misconduct here, but they just say he just kind of sucked as a leader. And I'd like to dive into a little bit of why I think that may be the case. So the quote is from one Army officer who you can imagine spoke on the condition of anonymity.
Right.
He's the worst leader I've ever had. Toxic, selfish, and egotistical. I was getting screamed at multiple times for reasons I can't understand. It goes on, but one of the things that I think is interesting is, and I think that we can all learn, like, sometimes you got to see the bad to pull some good out of it. They accuse this gentleman of being a perfectionist, a micromanager, and dressing down subordinates in front of others. Now, I understand that the military operates differently than just like, Sears or just like a company.
Right.
But I also feel like those are three things that generally as a leader, you're looking to avoid. Being a perfectionist, being known as perfectionist, a micromanager, and then certainly dressing down subordinates in front of others. Now, this is amazing. By amazing, I mean terrible, but amazing. The public criticism was commonly known in the ranks as the Chunger Games.
Oh.
Okay, now look. This is a sad story about a gentleman who apparently was a toxic leader, but the Chunger Games rocks.
That's a solid nickname.
That is a great nickname of just like, like he's dressing it down again. Here comes the Chunger Games.
And like everybody, that's a nickname that everybody gets what you're explaining with, no backstory needed.
He also tasked his formation with listening to his podcast about leadership lessons, sometimes requiring troops to write reports or quizzing about the material. Now, look, I think it's okay to suggest to people that you work with, hey, here's a great podcast. Like, I don't know, I'll just pick one at random, the RYLACast, that I think maybe you could gain one or two things from if you get some time. But I think requiring them to listen to your podcast and then quizzing them about it, probably not the way. Now, there's other people who say that he has an unfair reputation and that this is being blown out of proportion, things like that. So certainly he will get his day in court. But I do think that there's something here that I think we think of like the military as like the peak of leadership and where you've got to be on your game. Like there's no messing about here. You got to be on your game. But I do think that where you see big failures, you can find successes. And I think the thing that really hit me there was the idea of being a perfectionist and being a micromanager. I don't know. Let me try this on for size. I think you can be a little bit of one, but if like a perfectionist and a or a micromanager, like you can micromanage a little, or you can just have really high expectations for your subordinates. But you certainly cannot be both. If you're both, you're just gonna end up in the Chunger Games.
No, that's a good point. And it's so tough because there are times to be. I feel like I'm generalizing, but trying to get that attention to detail maybe is a better way to look at it in terms of perfectionist. Micromanager, attention to detail micromanager is a slight difference that accomplishes the same goal. Kind of to go wildly off topic, but you can't be both.
Anyway, so I found that story to be particularly informative of like even the military and even like high-ranking military officials. This gentleman is a commander of an entire brigade. I do think that that doesn't necessarily mean that everybody's got everything figured out. and I think that is a lesson that we can learn. So there you go. There's my big segment. We don't have a guest, so normally we'd have a guest right here. Can I plug a podcast before we move on?
Yes. Before you plug that podcast, I want to follow up on something you said in your big segment about the leadership podcast that he forced everybody to listen to.
Mm-hmm.
From experience, they'll let literally anyone make a podcast.
I'm feeling personally targeted here.
No. But anyway, yes, carry on. Sorry for that.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. I mean, I look, I'm picking up what you're putting down. I get it. I know what you're saying. You don't have, I'm reading not reading between the lines. You know what I mean? Okay. So, our buddy, and by buddy, I mean, Simon Sinek, who we've mentioned a couple of times, he has a podcast. Do you know that?
Yes.
It's called A Little Bit of Optimism. I think it's called A Bit of Optimism. That's what it's called. A couple of weeks ago, and this is a little bit old, but a couple of weeks ago, did I mention this in the last podcast?
No.
Okay.
Simon Sinek's a big player on the podcast, but I don't think you mentioned this.
He did an interview with a gentleman named Bill Farmer. Do you know who Bill Farmer is?
I do not.
Bill Farmer is the voice of Goofy.
Okay.
And so here's my selling point for this. It's called A Goofy Episode with Bill Farmer. If you want nothing more than to just hear an interview with the guy who plays Goofy, it's a good listen for that. But also, like, they get into some kind of good things about like identity and about like self-confidence and believing in yourself and things like that. So anyway, I would recommend that. That's my in lieu of a guest, that's my plug for this week. So we didn't have somebody to come and plug something. That's me plugging something.
Okay, that's a great plug.
Okay, so there you go. And now, here to bring us home on this very special episode of the RYLACast is Andrew Josey.
Well, thank you, Greg. So when you are writing, are you familiar with the concept of being in the zone, so to speak?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm very much. I am familiar with that, and I am also a guy who, I have to put myself in a position to succeed. Like, I have to have music. I have to be sitting in a specific place and stuff like that. But once I get there, like, I'm good to go for an hour, 2 hours, 4 hours, stuff like that. So yes, I am very familiar with the idea of getting in a zone.
Okay. Are you familiar with this idea in psychology called flow and being in a flow state?
No, I'm not.
Okay. Have we talked about this before?
I don't think so.
So it's around, it comes up with when talking about grit and kind of this whole, like, how do I just, how do I be passionate about something? And I've got a notes app on my phone, and I write down little sentences and things, and whether it's a book I'm reading or listening to or anything that comes up. And I wrote a sentence, a question called, what happens when challenges are greater than your skills? Which comes up a lot, like when I'm trying to grow, challenges can be good. Challenges can also be bad. But that's
like what happens when you're in over your head.
Exactly. So, to peel back the curtain a little bit, throwing that into Google, just that question gives you a variety of articles. And the theme that kept coming up is this idea of flow. And I want to say I came into knowing the idea of flow with the Angela Duckworth book. I believe it's just Grit, but the flow state. This particular article talks about, think of a runner competing in a marathon. His goal is clear, needs to reach the finish line faster than his competitors. He's trained for the marathon. He knows he can do it. He's focused on it. Nothing else in his mind but crossing that finish line. He's not conscious of himself or his environment. He is single-handedly focused on crossing the finish line. Nothing else exists. but crossing that finish line. And that positive psychology calls that the flow state. And so the benefits of being in a state of flow is you have this kind of extreme confidence, knowing that you have the capacity to overcome challenges, meet your goals, increase your sense of overall life satisfaction, which, that sounds like a big bite to chew. But I understand the point. And so when in a state of flow, a person is gaining mastery of the task at hand. You've cleared out all distractions and you're focused on that one challenge, and you're focused on overcoming it. And these flow situations, the psychology shows that they allow for personal development and growth, which are both two factors that lead to happiness. And achieving a state of flow at work leads to success and career advancement. And I think this state of flow is fascinating because you alluded to it as well. You've got to have everything clear, but then you're good for a couple hours.
Yeah.
And then you move on to something else. And then when something else comes up, you're back in the flow state. And so having this, knowing that you can kind of move freely in and out of it, I think is helpful and healthy when talking about leadership. And it's possible to enter the flow state while doing any activity, probabilities are higher when you're wholeheartedly doing a task for its own sake. You have to be doing something to enter into a flow state. So, passive activities, reading, watching TV won't cause it. You have to be doing something actively.
Okay.
So that's
you can't just be sitting on the couch and be like, oh, look at me, I'm in a flow state.
Right.
You can't just wake up and suddenly find yourself into it. I think you have to be intentional about it.
Exactly. Intentional. Yeah, that's a good way to describe it.
Okay. Thanks, Josey.
Thanks, Greg.
Okay. Yeah, that is this guestless episode of the RYLACast. We'll have another one, I guess, in 2 weeks. Do you want to try to schedule this, produce on the fly? Let's see. Next Tuesday is May 2nd. I think I'm free that day, so maybe we'll record that. Oh, today's tax day. Did you file your taxes?
Oh yeah. Did you file your taxes?
I did file my taxes. They cashed my check today. And by cash my check, I mean the IRS cashed the check I sent them. So it's going great. So anyway, if you see me begging for change outside your door, please, I have children to feed. I think that's going to do it for us. Thanks for spending a little time with us. We hope that you will, if you enjoyed this podcast, you will rate it and comment on it and tell a friend. And here with an antiquated way of telling a friend about the RYLACast is Josey.
Yes. So speaking of marathons, I want you to print off. It can really just be an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, and it has to be like a runner's bib, and listen to the RYLACast on it. And you don't have to register for the race. You just have to run near the race so other people see that bib and think is that a number? Oh no, I need to listen to the RYLACast. It's a relatively low cost way of advertising, really.
So more and more sports leagues are having advertising on their jerseys. How much do you think it would cost to get listen to the RYLACast logo on I don't know, the Dallas Mavericks jersey? Do you think that's in our budget?
After the season they've had, I think it's in our budget.
Perfect. Thanks for spending part of your night with us, Josey. Thanks for your courage.
Thanks, Greg.
Talk to you next time on the RYLACast.